6:30 right now, and we are starting this morning with this. This is a look at a tornado from yesterday, courtesy of Tom Shaw, as it rips through parts of the south side of South Bend. Now, much of the area in cleanup mode after that tornado hit yesterday in a very busy stretch of the city. This video from a neighborhood on the south side from Mr. Shaw, and he sent it to us. Fortunately, he and no one else ended up being hurt in the storm that came ripping through. Now, we do have team coverage that continues this morning of now the aftermath and the cleanup. Our Kristen Bean is live in front of the Growing Kids Learning Center this morning, where you can see that building is basically gone.
Yeah, a lot of damage there and more damage down here. You can see trees are down, power lines have been knocked down, and we will get to Kristen in just a minute. But first, let's start with meteorologist Ed Russo, who's in for Carrie, because Ed, this was not a normal severe storm like we typically see.
Where we have seen much of the damage, and of course that's where our own Kristen Bean is at right now, at the intersection of Ironwood and Ireland Road, right near the Growing Kids Learning Center, where we've seen some of the worst damage from the event last night. Kristen.
Yeah, crews from the National Weather Service are going to be out here today to meet with St. Jude County emergency management officials to assess the damage. And Ed's been saying it all morning. There's no question that this was a tornado because we have video of it. The question is how powerful. This damage behind me illustrates how powerful this storm was that came through here. This is the Growing Kids Learning Center. It is on Ireland Road, just off of Ironwood, and look at the damage. This building ripped apart by the storm last night. You can see the walls, the roof, the structure inside just decimated. You can even see playground equipment in the back. It has been ripped apart and thrown for a pretty large distance. In fact, the bank, about 0.3 miles down the way, there's a little bit of playground equipment sitting in that bank parking lot. Look at the Growing Kids sign. That was ripped out of the ground by the cement. It takes significant wind power to do something like that. And then if you come over here, a lot of power lines down in this area. You can see this power line snapped at its base. Again, it takes significant wind power to do that. The storm came through about 8:30, a little bit after 8:30 last night. Fire crews told me they got the alarm from Growing Kids, the fire alarm from Growing Kids, around 8:43, 8:47-ish time. And there is some more damage, a little bit of damage to Iris Hill's apartment and some home damage behind Growing Kids. The good news is no injuries. This place was closed for the weekend, and St. Joe County Dispatch not reporting any other injuries in this storm. We will learn likely today how powerful this tornado was that came through the area. But again, the good news is no injuries. This road, Ireland, is closed and will be closed for a significant amount of time. St. Joe County deputies down at the end of the road told me AEP hasn't even been here yet to assess some of this power line damage. So we do expect Ireland between Ironwood and the entrance to Irish Hills to be closed. But Ironwood, the main thoroughfare, is open this morning. Live here in South Bend, Kristen Bean, Wsbt 22 News.
All right, take a look at this. We are getting a bird's eye view of the damage in South Bend after a tornado touched down last night. This video courtesy of Robert Franklin at the South Bend Tribune.
The new information tonight, as the National Weather Service says, it was an EF2 tornado. Officials say the storm developed over Marshall County, then moved northeast towards South Bend.
The actual tornado formed just south of US 20. Officials say it traveled for 2 miles with peak winds reaching 125 miles per hour.
Right. It then lifted just south of the intersection of Ironwood Drive and Inwood Road. Near there is where we are seeing the most damage.
And we have team coverage tonight for you at 5 as people are assessing that damage and focusing on the next steps.
WSBT 22's Caitlin Connon is live in South Bend at Ireland and Ironwood. That's where a daycare center was destroyed by the tornado.
And WSBT 22's DJ Manu is live near there as well. He's been speaking to homeowners about the damage that they are seeing.
Plus, meteorologist Abby Wepler is here with us now as she's tracking the chance for severe weather again tonight.
Let's first head out to Caitlin at the Growing Kids Learning Center. And Caitlin, cleanup there is well underway.
That's right, Todd. It is hard to miss just how much attention this site needs. The tornado ripped a huge gash in Growing Kids' roof there, and it also flung debris all over the lawn and the streets, and crews have spent most of the day trying to clean this area up, and they've made pretty good progress. Owner Mike Garatoni says it's partly due to community support. He says he's gotten dozens of calls from people who want to help out and make sure everything is okay, and Garatoni says he fully intends to rebuild. He's already working with a design and a construction team.
Fortunately, we just wrapped up a couple projects so we are all in construction mode, and so we will figure out what to do with this mess. But the lesson of the day is just be prepared as much as you can, and then when something bad happens, just react and move on.
Garatoni didn't know quite how long it'll take to rebuild Growing Kids, and in the meantime, parents will need to find alternative childcare. You can hear what those parents were doing with their kids today, coming up tonight at 6. But for now, live in St. Joseph County, Caitlin Connon, Wsbt 22 News.
Now, the worst damage was contained to the daycare center, but others in the area were just as impacted.
Yeah, right behind the center on Lamar Street, people are cleaning up their yards. WSBT 22's DJ Manu is live there, and DJ, just a few hundred feet away, and the homes are really dealing with only minor damage.
Yeah, that's kind of hard to believe comparing what the daycare looks like. But many of these homes, they're missing shingles, and tree limbs are kind of all over their houses. But as we scan through this backyard, you can tell it's going to take some time to clean all this up. The cleanup has begun for Marissa Hull and her brother. Massive trees toppled in their backyard, probably the second scariest sight for them.
We looked right behind us, and we saw the clouds coming right over the bypass, and we had to book it inside.
They made it into their basement with seconds to spare.
The trees kind of falling down onto the houses, and then we felt the house shake, and the power flickered, and then it just cut out.
The house lost some shingles, but the biggest task is cutting up the trees.
There's a lot to clean up, so we're trying to tackle it small pieces at a time.
Her next-door neighbors are in the same boat. Dave Lentine and his family are recovering what little they can in what was a garage.
Luckily, most of the people are dealing with trees more than anything, trees and sheds and garages. Home-wise, most of the homes are safe.
He says there's thousands of dollars worth of damage, including the home.
There's a large tree on the back sunroom, which is a TV room. It's punctured through the roof. I don't know structure-wise, we haven't been able to see it yet because of trees laying over it.
If it wasn't for an impromptu family dinner last night,
she'd be sitting in that room there where the tree's laying on right now.
But this isn't Lentine's first tornado. As a kid, he hid in a ditch when Palm Sunday tornadoes went over him, and again in Niles.
The trailer, we couldn't even get out of. The pressure was so strong that the walls were caving in. I actually watched the tree come up, do a circle, and drop on my truck. And that was probably scarier than Palm Sunday because we were within about 3 feet of it.
As Lentine and his family continue to clean up what is left of this debris, they're actually shocked to see what exactly they're finding. This mess right here isn't from their house. It's actually the roof from the Growing Kids Learning Center right down the road. Now, live in St. Joseph County, I'm DJ Manu, WSBT 22 News.
That just shows you the power.
Yeah.
Meteorologist Abby Wempler joining us now.
And Abby, you're tracking the chance for some more severe weather again tonight?
We could see an isolated strong storm tonight. We're going to be monitoring that for pretty much the entire evening.
And when you think of school lunches, you may be thinking about bad tasting food you had as a kid.
Yeah, but experts say the quality of school lunch food has actually improved dramatically in the past decade. The problem is your kids may not have enough time to eat. Operation Education investigative reporter Tolly Taylor has been digging into lunch periods at local schools. And Tolly, a study shows that students who get less than 20 minutes to eat lunch really just don't have time to finish everything.
Yeah, and the key is how much time they have once they actually sit down with their food. It turns out most local schools have 30-minute lunch periods. But if transitions to lunch are slow or lunch lines are long, the impact may be felt more by low-income kids. That's because they're the ones who rely on school meals for half their daily calories.
When I get to sit down and eat and be free to talk with my friends.
Haley Leroy doesn't hesitate when you ask her her favorite part about school lunch. She gets pizza for lunch when she can, and chocolate chip pancakes for breakfast. The fourth grader at Woodland Elementary in Elkhart says she has plenty of time to eat every day, but many kids don't. A 2019 Harvard study looked at more than 1,000 students. Most had lunch periods ranging from 20 to 30 minutes. But that's not how much time the kids actually had to sit and eat.
Because they didn't have enough time to eat, they were throwing away on average between 10 to 13% of their meal.
Cohen tells me that she went into the study expecting kids to just throw away their vegetables when they were pressed for time. But that's not what happened. She found that students who have less than 20 minutes to eat their lunch ate 13% less of their entrees, 12% less of their vegetables, and 10% less of their milk, compared with classmates who had a minimum of 25 minutes to eat lunch. And it can be even worse depending on when you get to the cafeteria.
And if you're at the end of the food line, it can be as little as 12 minutes to eat.
Murray is a pediatrician and former president of the American Academy of Pediatrics. He's been involved in school nutrition for most of his adult life. He says it's important to remember that school food has come a long way. School lunches started in the 1940s and breakfasts in the 1960s, but they weren't the balanced meals that are served today, as Edwardsburg superintendent will tell you.
There was a lot of processed meat, a lot of frozen food, especially vegetable kind of stuff.
Then in 2010, Michelle Obama and Congress pushed through the biggest changes to school food in decades, making them healthier with the Healthy, Hunger-Free Americans Act. But even today, there's no federal standard for how long lunch periods should be. That's left up to school districts to decide. And here's what local lunch periods look like. Depending on the school and grade level, they range from 20 to 50 minutes. Cohen says the ideal time is 30 minutes, with 25 minutes seated. If kids get this, she says, it shows up in their academic results.
So things like impulse control, working memory, all the types of behaviors that you'd want in a classroom that enable students to learn.
Elkhart schools have about 63% of students on free and reduced price lunch. I spoke to one Elkhart high schooler who says that while she has 30-minute lunch periods, she only gets 10 minutes to eat if she's at the back of the line. On the flip side, students had 22 minutes or more to eat when I was at Woodland Elementary last week. But I want to hear from you. If your kids don't have enough time to eat at school, I'd ask that you reach out and tell me your story.
And Tolly, there are things that schools can do to help solve this problem, right?
Yeah, on Wednesday, I'll tell you what researchers said schools can do to make sure that students have enough time to eat.
It's so important that food, as we know, is fuel for kids, so they need to have it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. If you have a story that you'd like Tolly to look into, you can call our Operation Education Tips line at 574-344-2580, or you can email operationeducation@wsbt.com. Do your kids have enough time to eat lunch at school? It is a question parents have been responding to on Facebook.
Our recent Operation Education investigation looked at school lunch times and studies that indicate they may not be long enough. WSBT 22's Tolly Taylor has your reaction and tells us why experts say there are solutions to the problem.
I asked parents on Facebook last week, do you feel like your child has enough time to eat lunch at school? The replies came quickly, with the majority of responders saying their kids didn't. One woman who says she's a lunch lady disagreed, writing, I can tell you from seeing it firsthand that kids have more than enough time to eat. The problem is that they want to socialize and play with their food. Another woman replied saying, I've been to lunch with my kids plenty of times to see that if you're at the end of the lunch line, you do not have enough time to eat. Elementary school kids are rushed. Obviously, there's disagreement, so I posed the question to local students. Do you always feel like you have enough time to eat lunch every day? Vanessa Martinez is a fourth grader at Woodland Elementary in Elkhart. She loves the chicken nuggets, the cornbread is a close second, and she likes the food options overall. But she wishes she had 10 more minutes to eat her lunch every day and talk with her friends. Woodland fourth graders get 30 minutes for lunch, but Martinez says it's less than that by the time she sits down with her tray. Harvard's Juliana Cohen says that's pretty common, based on her 2019 study. The study looked at more than 1,000 students and found that kids who have less than 20 minutes to sit and eat their lunch eat about 13% less food. Cohen says that slow transitions to lunch and long lines for food can decrease the amount of time kids have, but there are simple solutions.
The ordering in advance, so they're not standing there thinking about which choice they want, increasing the number of lunch lines so that we can get kids through faster, and then using swipe cards instead of having students punch in an ID.
Cohen says some schools have kids fill out what they want for lunch right when they walk into the classroom. Lunch lines move faster that way, she says, while other schools add registers or give students swipe cards to speed things up. There's no federal standard for how long lunch periods should be. And here's what local schools budget for time. Depending on the school and grade level, they range from 20 to 50 minutes. Cohen says the ideal is 30 minutes, with 25 minutes seated. But there's another common problem that both Cohen and Robert Murray, a longtime pediatrician with a focus in school nutrition, have noticed. Schools that schedule recess after lunch.
They'll guzzle a half a thing of milk, and they'll eat the dessert, and they'll take a couple of bites of the hamburger, and then they're out the door to recess.
A spokesperson for Mishawaka Schools tells me that the 7 elementary schools have between 40 to 50 minutes for lunch and recess. She says most students spend 20 to 30 minutes eating before heading outside to recess. But Cohen and Murray say this encourages kids to eat faster, which can become a lifelong habit. It also encourages kids not to eat all of their food. They both encourage schools to move recess before lunch. One person on Facebook agrees. She wrote, "Our school has recess before lunch, which helps them focus more on eating because they are wore out from playing." This story obviously struck a nerve with parents, and so I first want to thank so many of you for reaching out to me. We had 166 Facebook comments and a bunch of emails from viewers. And the vast majority of you were saying the same thing, that your kids don't have enough time to eat, even the ones who bring lunch.
So many families affected by this particular issue. You know, one thing I know where my children go to school, and maybe where your kids go to school, you're able to go and eat lunch with them. You can see the process. I know you'd have to check with your school's policy and see if you can, but it's nice to be able to see how they do things if you want to be able to do that.
Right, and actually 2 of the experts recommended that. They said that a lot of schools are open to that and that it's often a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, Tolly, some very interesting insight. And once again, what you learn as a kid can stick with you throughout your life too, those eating habits, those bad ones.
Absolutely, and this is something we'll continue to follow over the next few weeks.
All right, very good. Tolly, thanks. Operation Education is WSBT 22's commitment to investigate concerns about our children's education. Monday night at 6, you've heard how schools around the state have struggled with the new iLearn test, but we'll show you the strategies a local school used to place them #1 in the state on the English portion. Now, if you have a story you'd like Tolly to look into, call our Operation Education tips line at 574-344-2580 or email operationeducation@wsbt.com.
Good evening, I'm Caroline Torrey. Tonight, we are looking at some really truly incredible images that have come in from a lot of our viewers tonight. We have had a lot of severe weather just come through our area in waves. Matt Rudkin has been tracking it really all day and all evening. And Matt, you know, this storm system has been scattered. Some areas are really truly just hit harder than others.
Absolutely. Yep. Good way to put it. So I'm going to focus on one particular area real quick. Here's the overcap. This is the recap of what came through over the past few hours. Several discrete thunderstorms. And by discrete, I mean it wasn't really a line. And there's one area I want to focus on way at the bottom of WSBT land here in Fulton and Miami counties. Right between Akron and Macy, Indiana. There's Akron. Here's Macy. A huge tornado touchdown right along the county line. I want to show you a couple of things. There's where the actual path was. And by the way, it didn't just stop. It continued into parts of Wabash and eventually Whitley counties as well. This is velocity data, wind direction and speed. I don't need to tell you where the tornado was, right? Incredible imagery right there as it wrapped up and then again pushed off to the east. This was a picture. We call this a wedge tornado from a few miles away. I want to go a little bit closer and look at a vertical direction. This line here is 10,000 feet in the atmosphere. Here's where we live on the ground. Rotation over 1.5 miles to 2 miles into the sky. Several different reports here of tornadoes. This is a debris signature here, and you can see it. You'll see the little be a green color right there. That's the debris, wood and sand and even trees being sucked up into the sky. I want to step out of the way. I want to show this to you for a couple of seconds here. This was the tornado that touched down between Akron and Macy. Again, incredible imagery here of a very wide wedge tornado. And watch a couple of things I want you to notice. Number one, there are little vortices or mini tornadoes around the big one. Number two, you'll notice here in just a few seconds, you'll see flashes. Those are high tension power lines that are snapping out in the distance. And number three, if you look closely, you'll eventually see debris as wood and again the power lines are sucked up into the sky and thrown around. Incredible imagery, and thanks to everybody who sent pictures and videos. These are several different tornado reports, and probably it was the same tornado. You can kind of see a line there, southern Fulton and southern Kosciuszko County. Wind and hail reports also were seen across our area, especially in Indiana. So here's the good news. First alert storm tracker radar, other than a little bit of rain, is sweeping all clear. There's a little rain showers down here between Winnemac and Rochester. Meteorologist Ed Russo has been here all day. He helped tackle the severe weather coverage. He's got the good news in the form of less severe chances coming up on your full forecast in just a couple of minutes.
Thanks so much, Matt. Well, of course, people are left dealing with incredible damage after strong winds and heavy rain spread throughout our area this afternoon. This especially near the west side of Koontz Lake. That's where we find WSBT 22's Lauren Becker. Lauren, what kind of damage are you looking at tonight?
Well, Caroline, I'm on Canny Avenue. That's on the west side of Koontz Lake. And if you look up here, a tree fell on this home. There's actually a tree service up there right now working to remove part of the branches and part of the tree that's up there. But when this happened, there was a woman inside. She lives here and she was doing her dishes. She had only 3 or 4 dishes left to put in the dishwasher, and she heard this loud noise, and her son was on the back porch. She yelled for her son, and then they watched the skylight, which was at the ceiling of the kitchen, fall right in front of them. Glass shattered all over the ground, and they ran outside to see what could have caused it and found the tree on the top of the roof. They also went over to the other side of the house where they saw a tree fell on her son's car, and she says she's lucky to be alive, but also she is in shock.
I thought that the house was, you know, like caving in, or I didn't know what to think. And then you don't know what to do, and I had my phone, I grabbed my phone and I called 911.
Now, right now, again, like I said, tree service is working to get some of the branches down and protect the roof right now. Luckily, the homeowner does have homeowner's insurance, but like I said earlier, she is shaken up after all this, but she is lucky to be alive. Live in Koontz Lake, I'm Lauren Becker, WSBT 22 News.
Well, everything's demolished. His house is flipped sideways.
I couldn't believe it. I just was shaken.
Man, I was praying, asking God to keep us safe. Like I said, scariest 15 seconds of my life.
Dozens of tornado sightings, violent weather pounding the Midwest with damaging winds, 2-inch hail, and flash floods. And this morning, we're getting our first look at the aftermath.
First, fast, accurate. You're watching WSBT 22 First in the Morning with Bob Montgomery and Leanne Tokars.
Cleanup efforts will be underway this morning after a round of severe weather hit our area and parts of the Midwest. Take a look at this video. Here locally, the worst hit being near Akron after a tornado leveled homes and caused major damage. We have team weather coverage this morning. Our Bree Isom is live in Macy, getting our first look at the storm damage there. And there's a lot. But first, let's get right away to WSBT 22 meteorologist Carrie Peugeot for a check of the weather, because Carrie, you're tracking more rain and storms for today.
We do. We have more chances of storms and severe weather, although I don't think we're going to see active weather like this. These are all the storm reports from yesterday between flooding rains, the hail, and the tornadoes, which are those red areas. You can see multiple areas of that. Much quieter look this morning because the only storm showing up has one that is exiting our area right now. So this is far southern LaGrange, southeastern LaGrange County, and moving away from us. Little rumble of thunder in there and about 10 minutes of heavy rain. We also have a very brief shower between Elkhart and Bristol, where you're getting a brief couple minutes of heavier rain there. That's going to move off pretty quickly. But other than those 2 showers, really quiet compared to yesterday. Notice no one else getting any of those showers. Our main focus for showers and storms will actually be late afternoon. The heat of the day will help develop some of those severe storms. Now, in the risk category, it's much lower than yesterday. Yesterday, we were in that 3rd category out of 5 in terms of the risk of severe weather. We're back in the green category, which is that 1. Doesn't mean we won't have strong storms. It just means our risk is a lot lower. So that's definitely an improvement from yesterday, but it's still something that we will have to be timing out and checking out. A couple of isolated small showers this morning, but the risk of severe weather is there late afternoon, early evening. We're going to time out that line of storms coming up in about 10 minutes.
All right, Carrie, thank you. And we're receiving more photos from viewers this morning showing the aftermath of yesterday's severe storms. Come take a look. In this photo, you can see a funnel cloud. This was taken in South Bend near 4 Winds. Then we have this one, a tree that fell on top of a house, this in the Koontz Lake area where they had strong winds. And then this is the tornado reported near Akron last night that caused a lot of damage. And that's where WSBT 22's Bree Isom joins us now. She's in Macy. That's where the tornado hit last night. Bree, a lot of damage there.
Leanne, a lot of damage. So I'm standing here right as you can see on a porch. But if you turn around, there's nothing there. This house was leveled by this tornado yesterday. I mean, as you can see, there's a fridge just just standing there. That's the only thing that's really standing in this house. You see the brick being ripped off of the foundation. If you go back toward here, you can kind of see a basement where people were hopefully able to seek shelter. But again, a horrific scene here this morning. You just totally see the walls just demolished, and you can kind of see the outlining of maybe a bathroom or a kitchen. This is just horrible damage, and we're continuing to look for more damage because, like Leanne was saying, we've had pictures being sent in by viewers of all the damage that's been happening here in Macy. Again, Macy, Indiana is just south of Akron, so this is the Akron area, but we're continuing to survey more damage this morning. We'll continue to drive down Macy more and to look for more of the damages by this tornado. Again, we do not know the size of this tornado yet. The National Weather Service still has to come down here and kind of survey all the damages in order to know what size the tornado was. But we'll continue to update you on all the storm damages this morning on WSBT 22. For now, I'm live in Macy, WSBT 22 News.
All right, Bree, thank you. And Dayton, Ohio, also hard hit by storms. Happening right now, Ohio's Department of Transportation using snow plows to remove debris off a highway after a large and dangerous tornado hit last night. Officials say crews are using several of the plows to scrape debris off to the side of southbound I-75, trying to get the highway reopened as soon as possible. There are reports of multiple injuries, damage, and power outages. At this point, however, there's no word on the extent of injuries. Our team weather coverage continues all morning long, but for weather updates anytime, make sure to download our WSBT 22 First Alert mobile weather app. You can get it free on the Apple App Store and Google Play.
Disaster and destruction. Right now, an Indiana community is picking up the pieces after a tornado rips through the area last night.
The Supreme Court weighs in on an Indiana abortion law. I'm Natalie Brand at the Supreme Court with what the justices decided and what it could mean for new state laws aimed at restricting abortion.
Plus, we are following more tornado damage out of Ohio, where a man was killed as a car crashed into his home. WSBT 22 News at 5 starts right now.
First, fast, accurate with Jennifer Copeland and Todd Connor. You're watching WSBT 22 News at 5.
Dramatic video captured by WSBT 22's drone. It gives us a better picture of the tornado damage in Miami County.
Yeah, the tornado ripped through the area last night. The worst damage appears to be along County Road 1500 North. That's between Macy and Akron. The storm destroyed several homes and churches.
WSBT 22's DJ Manu is live in Macy, and DJ, the community is rallying tonight.
There were about 30 people here at this home. Many of them just trying to help tear down what is left of the structure and cleaning up the debris. BJ Hunt was in his basement when the tornado hit. When he came back up, he looked around and saw everything was gone, with trees snapped and his car flipped over. Many people have been working on to just try salvage what was left and organizing the mess. The owner's pastor was here around 8 this morning, helping in any way he possibly could for his friend. I spoke to a few people who never even met the family, but drove 15 miles just to come out here and help. Despite losing everything and still in shock, Hunt was actually smiling throughout the day. He knows what he lost can be replaced, but he says it's seeing the people help that gives him hope.
This is superficial stuff here, man. This is not what life's about. What you see up there on top, that's what life's about right there. Everybody helping everybody. People who don't know nobody helping this person, that person through a hard time. So I have every reason to be smiling.
Hunt says he will continue to rebuild here, not because this is just his home, but also because he wants to stay within the community that's come out and helped support him. And coming up at 6, hear from officials on what they're asking people to do to make this recovery as easy and safe as possible. Live in Macy, DJ Manu, WSBT 22 News.
Now, Chief Meteorologist Matt Rudkin tracked this storm as it happened last night. And Matt, you saw what looked like a tornado on radar right before this touchdown.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me show you. This is the system that came through. We'll focus right down here. This was the big storm that happened. It was that one right there, and you can really see the actual tornado with velocity data. There's Macy, Indiana. There's Akron. So this is the Miami-Fulton County line. It was right there as it then pushed to the east and dissipated just south of Silver Lake. This was the video. Incredible video here of what was determined to be a strong EF2 tornado, borderline EF3, which are fairly rare around here with this wind gusts estimated about 135 miles per hour. These were the different tornado reports. This was the same tornado with several people reporting on it. That was it. It was a half-mile wide. It's what we call a wedge tornado. I'll step out of the way. It was 14 miles. It started again just north of Macy and ended south and east of Silver Lake. So it was right along the Fulton and Miami County line, and also the Kosciuszko and Wabash County line. Officially, per the National Weather Service, EF2 rating, again at the maximum sustained winds of 135 miles an hour, maximum wind gusts, I should say. 136 is an EF3, so this was borderline EF2, EF3. It did substantial damage to homes. I know it leveled some properties down that way and took out some high power or high tension power lines. It began at 7:51 and ended at 8:18, so just over 25 minutes on the ground, traveled 14 miles, and again, it was a half-mile wide before it dissipated. And then as this entire system moved to the east, it dropped more tornadoes in northeast Indiana, and as you know, even more in parts of Ohio.
First, fast, accurate with Jennifer Copeland and Todd Connor. You're watching WSBT 22 News at 6.
A day of cleanup across northern Indiana after tornadoes and strong storms pounded the area last night.
This is a look at the damage this afternoon from Drone 22 over Miami County. The hardest hit areas are along County Road 1500 North. That's between the towns of Macy and Akron. The good news? There are no reports of any injuries, but that storm did have people running for cover in Macy.
Yeah, it certainly did. WSBT 22's DJ Manu is live there tonight. And DJ, the reaction today, a little different than we might think.
Yeah, there were a lot of smiles on faces of the volunteers throughout the day, not because of the damage, which is heartbreaking to see, but because the sense of the community coming together to lend a hand. It's something that's going to be as memorable to BJ Hunt as the actual tornado.
Crash down right here is what I was doing this right here. And the two dogs were right where you was at. And it was just chaotic wind and stuff pelting me. And like I said, I could feel like it was trying to pick me up. And
with seconds to take cover, BJ Hunt held on for his life. And just as quickly as it came, it was over. But when Hunt walked out of his basement and looked around,
what you see I've done in 2.5 years, in 15 seconds, it's gone.
Thankful to be alive, the focus has been now on cleanup, tearing down the remaining structure, cutting up mangled trees, the community doing their part.
It shows that we're not afraid to work. It shows that we put friends and family first. If there's a need, we're going to be there.
Titus Rutt drove 15 miles to get here.
I don't know these people at all. We drove down the road and see the house was completely destroyed, so we pulled in to help out.
Seeing the support has touched Hunt, but he's not surprised.
I don't know if it's this way everywhere. I don't know. But I know where I live, this is a norm.
While volunteers continue to clean up, officials say danger is still high.
There's always a risk of tetanus or cutting yourself with a saw, and that's why our crew's just sort of driving around with the emergency gear just waiting.
Cleanup will take long. Restarting will take longer. But Hunt remains optimistic for one reason.
Yeah, I mean, this is like I said, this is superficial stuff here, man. This is not what life's about. What you see up there on top, that's what life's about right there. Everybody helping everybody. People who don't know nobody helping this person, that person through a hard time. So I have every reason to be smiling.
It says he will be repairing here and rebuilding his home, not just because this is where his home is, but he wants to stay within the community that has helped him so much. As for the recovery as it continues, officials are asking people to coordinate their efforts as well as not blocking the road. That way emergency crews can get into places that much easier. Live in Macy, DJ Manu, WSBT 22 News.
Fast, accurate with Jennifer Copeland and Todd Connor. You're watching WSBT 22 News at 5.
And now at 5, a historic weather alert. We have seen temperatures around the area unlike we have ever seen and ever experienced in our lifetime.
Yeah, many of you seeing wind chills near 50 below zero today. WSBT 22 has team coverage as our blast of bitter cold continues. Brooke O'Daniel is in one of the hardest hit areas, St. Joseph, looking at conditions.
Yeah, and Lauren Becker joined local animal control officials looking to protect pets in the cold. But first, let's get over to meteorologist Abby Wepler. Abby.
I mean, we did break a record today, so it has been that record-breaking cold. Temperatures right now, most of us still double digits below. It's 14 below in South Bend, also in Niles. Little bit warmer, I'm using that term very loosely, along the lakeshore in Berrien County, where you have those lake effect clouds, for example. But look at Elkhart, look at Sturgis, 11 below, 13 below in Goshen, 11 below in Warsaw. Winds have been a huge issue today, blowing and drifting snow, especially those of us along the lakeshore, around 15 miles an hour with lake effect snow. You've had a mess in Berrien County, and we're fully aware of that. Winds about 5 to 15 miles per hour. These will continue to die down tonight. Great news there. However, temperatures will fall farther tonight than what they did last night. Wind chills right now, mainly in the 20 to 30 below range. It's 39 below in South Bend. It feels like 33 below in Plymouth and Warsaw when you factor in the winds. This is the record we broke today. This is for the record low temperature on this date. The old one was 13 below. We fell actual air temperature 20 below zero this morning. So we set a new record. Here were our record lows across other portions of the area. 18 below in Elkhart, 21 below in Plymouth, 8 below in Benton Harbor, and 14 below in Sturgis. So I know the next question is, when do we warm up? When do we get a break from this? Well, dangerous cold lasts through tomorrow afternoon. Friday, we're back to 20, and we have 30 and 40s for the upcoming weekend. As we start to warm tomorrow night, though, in exchange comes widespread system snow. How much we're expecting, that's in minutes.
Abby, thank you. And for those of you in Michigan, it's not just the cold. Lake effect snow creating some really tough conditions there.
Yeah, this is a live look in South Haven, and we've been watching this shot go in and out because of probably the blowing snow. We've seen the winds really picking up, and at times you don't see a thing on this shot. Pier not even visible at times. WSBT 22's Brooke O'Daniel is in Berrien County, where plow drivers are really working hard to keep up.
This truck right here covered in snow as plow drivers have been working around the clock in sometimes whiteout conditions to try and keep the roadways clear. Whiteout conditions are causing driving issues in Berrien County. And for those that do venture out, many of them are getting stuck. Due to the blowing and drifting snow, some roads are completely closed. And the cold has caused the hydraulic system to freeze on some of the plows.
Right now, it's visibility. I think that's, people might see a plow truck go by and go, oh, good, my road's open. And then they want to go out and go to the grocery store or run some errands or do something. And then they realize that they can't see.
Now, all of the officials I've spoken with, they're all hopeful that the expected increase in temperatures for this weekend will finally provide a much-needed break for everyone from this severe weather. In Berrien County, Brooke O'Daniel, WSBT 22 News.
We just want to make sure that people understand the severity of the weather out there and that they are prepared. It's not just the person who's risking it by getting outside. It is other people that are first responders who may have to show up on the scene. And so it's important that people understand the magnitude of the issue.
And there you see Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer getting a first-hand look at efforts to keep you safe in the bitter cold. Right now, the entire state of Michigan under a state of emergency. Whitmer says she's been in contact with the Trump administration even about this situation. Many of you have reached out to us asking why other parts of the area are not being placed under a state of emergency.
Yeah, we had the chance to ask South Bend Police Chief Scott Ruskowski about what goes into making that decision.
There's many moving parts that are involved. It's not just the mayor, it's not just one person that makes that decision. It is multiple agencies. So they measure our resources, our capabilities, and our capacities, put everybody's together and see what we can do and what we absolutely cannot do. And then that's when the decision is made. If we can't go anymore, and again, we're talking people's lives in jeopardy, that's where the decision's made.
Now, if you find yourself in need of help, officials ask you only call 911 if you have an emergency. You should call the non-emergency line or South Bend's 311 line with other questions and concerns. And you know, it's not only our lives in danger during this record-breaking cold, but also our pets.
That's right. South Bend Animal Care and Control is urging everyone, bring your pets inside even if they're normally outside. WSBT 22's Lauren Becker is at the live desk right now. Lauren, if pets are not brought in, there will be consequences.
Yeah, Jennifer, South Bend Animal Care and Control is going around the city seizing any pets left unattended. Some owners are even refusing to bring them inside, and that's when humane officers are stepping in to rescue the animals.
South Bend Animal Care and Control, how can I help you?
Phones ringing off the hook as people call in about pets left outside in these brutally cold temperatures.
There's no question that these are life-threatening conditions for animals.
Life-threatening conditions, but pet owners still refusing to bring their pets inside. That's why South Bend's Animal Care and Control is stepping in to help.
No, definitely. Yeah. Keep an eye on that.
We call South Bend Police to stand by, and we seize the animals and bring them back to the shelter.
These dogs seized from homes and brought back to the shelter from unbearable living conditions. No food, frozen water, and minimal shelter. This dog lost her ear from frostbite.
We seized the 3 yesterday morning, and they basically jumped into the truck because of how cold they were.
3 animals seized last week, 8 just yesterday, and the numbers keep rising.
We are very full right now, but we will make room in other parts of the shelter in order to house them temporarily.
You're right. When it's colder than Antarctica outside, it's time to bring the pets inside. Even if they have thick fur, Animal Care and Control says your pet is not acclimated to the sudden extreme cold.
The misconception is they have fur, which essentially that's no different than us going outside in a jacket.
Bottom line, bring your pets inside.
Oh, that's a good girl. Yeah. Just why own a dog? Why own a dog if you're going to keep it outside and not happen in the house?
To reclaim your pet, you have to provide proof of rabies vaccinations and pay boarding fees at Animal Care and Control. If dogs are not reclaimed, they will either be sent to a rescue shelter or put up for adoption. At the live desk, Lauren Becker, WSBT 22 News.
That is heartbreaking, Lauren. You know, you won't find anything in your mailbox today, all thanks to the bitter cold. USPS suspending deliveries in parts of 8 states to protect carriers. No word yet on if service will begin again tomorrow or if it will be delayed once again. And Todd, the big fear for mail carriers or anyone else outside is frostbite.
Yeah, Jennifer, our team of meteorologists has been telling us all week long it will take just minutes to get frostbite in these conditions. Experts say the consequences of frostbitten fingers or toes is certainly no joke.
The long-term risk is infection, chronic discoloration of the affected areas, and even potentially, as scary as it is, amputation of those areas.
Now, experts say if you must be outside, make sure all of your body is covered by some sort of clothing and layer up if possible. Also, make sure to limit the time you are outdoors. And remember, we have details for you on resources available all across the area as we continue to battle this bitter cold. You can find all of that and the latest on our chilly forecast. Just head to our website, WSBT.com.
Happening right now, high-level talks are underway in Washington looking to put an end to the trade war between the U.S. and China. The White House accusing China of stealing trade secrets and says the talks are extremely complex. Tonight, the two sides are far apart, but if they don't reach an agreement by March 2nd, the Trump administration is set to hike tariffs on $200 billion of Chinese imports. Also happening now, the clock is ticking and another government shutdown is looming.
Now, WSBT 22 chief political correspondent Scott Thuman is in Washington, where key negotiators from both parties sat down today searching for compromise.
Trying desperately to avoid another shutdown and the anger and criticism that comes with one. Lawmakers from both sides met for the first time in this renewed effort to negotiate a long-term spending bill.
I think the conference can reach a good result, left to its own devices without an interference from everybody else.
But the pressure is on. Funding runs out again in just over 2 weeks.
Well, these are difficult issues. You know, people stake out their sides in negotiations, and my hope is that we can look and say, where's the win-win in all of this?
Success, though, is anything but guaranteed. Here at the White House, the president has said the chances are less than 50-50 that Congress will come up with a deal he'd agree to. His team telling us Democrats have to find money for a border barrier. Now, that would require some flexibility on behalf of Democrats. Will we see likewise flexibility from the president?
Well, again, the president has already shown flexibility. He has shown compromise. So when Speaker Pelosi got stuck with, it's a concrete wall, we don't want a concrete wall, the wall is immoral, the president said, steel slats.
They claim they also conceded by offering protections for some undocumented immigrants already here. Is the White House okay with the idea of another shutdown?
Nobody wants a shutdown.
But with so much uncertainty, some lawmakers are trying to come up with safety nets to automatically extend spending during budget battles.
That basically takes off the table the potential of a government shutdown in the future.
And they're also talking incentives like suspending pay for the president and Congress during a shutdown. In Washington, I'm Scott Thuman.
A possible presidential run means the national spotlight is now shining brightly on South Bend Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
That's right, all new. He will soon be getting the chance to tell the nation why he's pursuing a run to the White House.
I'm Nora O'Donnell. Tomorrow, South Bend, Indiana mayor and likely presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg will be here in Studio 57. That's tomorrow on CBS This Morning.
All right, Nora, thank you very much. And back here at 5, our team coverage of this bitter and historic cold continues next on WSBT 22.
And many of you stepping outside today to try this, creating snow in seconds with boiling water. And I'll show you another experiment demonstrating just how cold it is outside.
Meteorologist Abby Wepler is here. Abby, this cold, record-breaking.
It was this morning. We set a new record for low temperatures on this day. The old one was 13. We fell to 20 below and only made it to 6. Another brutal night is in store with the cold, and then I'm tracking system snow. How much we're expecting by tomorrow night, that's coming up.
First to cover breaking news with Jennifer Copeland and Todd Connor. Your accurate first alert weather forecast with meteorologist Abby Wepler. You're watching WSBT 22 News at 5.
Well, the bitter cold keeping many of you at home today.
Yeah, you've seen the numbers, but new at 5, meteorologist Ed Russo is here with an experiment demonstrating just how cold the Arctic air really is.
So with temperatures 15 to 20 below zero, it obviously doesn't take water very long to freeze. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this shirt, which is dry, and we're going to take this boiling water. I'm going to come over to this drain, and I'm going to pour the boiling water all over the shirt. The reason I'm using boiling water is because hot water freezes faster than cold water. You see that steam? That's evaporation. Evaporation is a cooling process, therefore the water gets colder much faster. That's why when you're making ice cubes, instead of using cold water in the freezer, in an ice tray you want to put warm water. All right, so now I'm going to bring this wet shirt out here, expose it to the cold, and I'm just going to swing it around like that. Now the reason I'm swinging it is because you're basically putting more wind on the shirt, and wind also increases evaporation. And with temperatures this cold, it's not going to take long for the end of this shirt to freeze like a solid rock. There you go, you see that? That probably took only 30 seconds. I went a little longer than that, but you can see the ice crystals forming on the shirt. And just a minute ago, this was boiling water. Again, hot water freezes faster than cold water. And on, again, a day like this with near record cold, or record cold, I should say, that's what you get in just a short amount of time.
That is why it's dangerous out there. But for many of you, this is day 2 home with your kids because of the snow and the bitter cold. So how are you staying busy? Todd is with WSBT 22's Dane Murray. There are ways to stay entertained at home and not go outside.
Jen, I took the time today to check how cold it was inside with all the bitter cold outside. So here's what I found. Check this out. I had my little gun, my temperature gun, you can see it there, and I went around my house, and this is what I found. My bathtub, a chilly 36 degrees. Coffee pot, 163, so that kept me going. Inside the fridge, 37. Toilet seat, 55 degrees.
No one wants to sit on that.
And of course, under the comforter, 72, so that was not so bad.
You had a busy morning.
Yes.
And you weren't the only one. You know, schools are helping to keep families busy as well. Take a look at this. This teacher at Hums Elementary School in Mishawaka, he told his students to play Fortnite. But don't worry, it gets better. He then asked the students to write a story about their Fortnite adventure and then spend some time reading as well.
Well, that makes sense, I guess. All right, and some other kids are spending their off days trying their hands at our jobs. Check this out.
Good morning. It is 11:10, and now for the weather. Hello, folks. There will be 0 chance of rain outside, but there might be a lot of snow. This has been Mark Ducey on WSBT 22, First Warning News.
So cute. How great is that, guys? Cameron and his sister Taylor are sure to be on WSBT 22 one day. We want to see how you have been staying busy during your days off as well. You can snap a photo or video and post it to our Facebook page.
I love them. They did so great.
They even had it down first in the morning news.
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you want, just as soon as tomorrow, if you want to come take a shot at this, it's been an easy week in the weather office. Nobody will even know you're there.
Yeah, no problem.
Ooh, all right, well, we are talking about bitter cold, though, overnight tonight, and then behind it, we're going to be talking about system snow this time tomorrow. Just one thing after another. I'm going to have that forecast for you coming up next.
Now, your accurate First Alert weather forecast with meteorologist Abby Wepler.
Boy, there's no messing around with these temperatures.
No,
if you spent any time outside.
It was hard to breathe walking from the car
that's no joke.
to the station. That's how rough it was this morning. Look at some of these wind chills that we recorded. South Bend, the wind chill got to 48 below. Same in Bremen. Mentone, you were around 52 below. Warsaw, 47 below. The closer you got to the lake, we actually had St. Joseph, you were a tad warmer. You were in the low 30s due to the lake effect clouds that you've been dealing with. We know you've been dealing with lake effect snow. Here's actual air temperatures right now. We dropped to 20 below, set that record for coldest low temperature on this day, and now we're at 14 below. Same in Niles, 7 below in Benton Harbor, 11 below in Warsaw, and the same goes in Knox. So yes, the dangerous cold is continuing tonight. Want to talk about winds right now because they are starting to die down, which is phenomenal news. We're going to see the winds lighten up a bit tonight. This helps in a couple of reasons. Of course, the wind chills, like I just showed you, but also our friends in Southwest Michigan, especially Berrien County, you have been dealing with some pretty nasty lake effect snow. The blowing and drifting snow is also a concern. This will help. Earlier today, you had wind speeds over 25 miles per hour, already knocked down to 15 miles per hour. So wind speeds tonight, about 10 to 20 miles per hour, not as strong as last night. So wind chill values, although they're technically going to be the same tomorrow morning as they were this past morning, it's because the air temperature is going to be colder. So not really much of an exchange, but it's just something you need to be aware of. Wind chills right now, you can see about 39 below in South Bend, 33 below in Warsaw, Plymouth, 36 below over in LaPorte. Future wind chills, here we go. So 10 o'clock tonight, most of us about 25 to 35 below. Overnight, our actual air temperature gets even colder. Tomorrow morning, we wake up, wind chills are still 25 to 35 below by late morning. We get into later in the day. This is what I want to show you. Everybody's asking, when do we get this relief? Tomorrow evening, temperatures keep warming, so that's going to help. Overnight, we continue to get warmer into Friday. That's when the relief in the temperatures happen, as you can see with those future wind chills. So much so that I expect by Friday morning, some of us will be close to being around the positive side, which from where we've been, that's a huge step. Here's South Bend, First Alert weather camera provided by St. Joseph Health Systems. We do have clear skies here. I know that is not the case, of course, for much of Berrien County, who's been dealing with lake effect snow. But when we're talking about our hour-by-hour forecast, we have a new record that we're keeping an eye on, and it would actually be an all-time record cold. The current one is 22 below. We are predicting a low of 24 below. That's the actual air temperature we expect to wake up to tomorrow morning. What did we wake up to this past morning? 20 below. So tomorrow morning, we're looking at 24 below. It is going to start to get pretty quiet, though. The lake effect in Southwest Michigan, that is going to improve. Here right now, storm tracker radar, pretty quiet for the most part. You can see it just to our north, but we're still checking in our network of sky cams. We still see snow and blowing and drifting snow in extreme northern Berrien County, and that will continue to improve by tomorrow. I do want to show you, though, we have a system heading our way. So in the short term, it's still the lake effect. Berrien County, for example, you could see another 2 to 4 inches of snow, mainly the northern portion. It shuts off tomorrow. Here comes that system, though. Look at this. System snow tomorrow evening into very early on Friday. What are we expecting? It is going to accumulate 3 to 4 inches the farther southwest you live, 2 to 3 inches right kind of in the heart of Michiana, 1 to 2 the farther northeast you live. So in exchange of the warmer air does come some system snow. Tomorrow's highs, we make it in the positive in the evening because we keep warming, and then we take a look at Friday. We're at 20 for an afternoon high. That 40-degree weather, though, is heading here for this weekend. Our forecast for tonight, though, lake effect snow, all-time record-breaking cold, 24 is what we're watching to break the old record of 22. Tomorrow, we'll make it to about 6 in the afternoon, 6 below, I should say, and then warm as the evening goes on. Next couple of days, you can see system snow tomorrow night into early Friday, 30s on Saturday. I mean, look at Monday. Raise your hand if you're excited. 50-degree weather, even though it comes with rain. Jennifer, Todd?
I think we both put maybe 2 hands up for that.
Yeah, very excited, yes.
Our team coverage of the historic bitter cold continues next on WSBT 22. It's a nightmare situation. You come home to find your pipes frozen.
Yeah, so what do you do next? Well, we talked to the experts about how to minimize the damage. Plus,
millions will tune in to the Super Bowl at home. I'm Hillary Lane with Consumer Reports recommendations for the best TVs to watch the big game.
You're watching WSBT 22 News at 5.
all right, you are looking live in South Bend where the sun is setting on one of the coldest days in history. It's kind of deceiving because it looks warm, but if you must head outside, make sure to bundle up and put blankets, food, and extra clothes in your car in case of an emergency. And a small way to say thanks to emergency crews in South Bend, the Chick-fil-A in Erskine Commons giving free meals to first responders working around the clock to keep our community safe. Just stop by the restaurant today in your uniform anytime between now and 8 to take advantage of that deal. Very nice.
All right, let's go live now to Atlanta, courtesy of our CBS affiliate there, CBS 46. That's Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which will soon play host to Super Bowl 53. And if you're not shelling out thousands of dollars to watch that game in person there in Atlanta, you can watch it Sunday night right here on WSBT 22.
But if you want the best view, you'll need a good TV, right? New at 5, Hillary Lane spoke with experts on choosing the best screen for game day.
If you're in the market for a new TV, there's good news.
TVs have gotten bigger, but they've also gotten less expensive.
Consumer Reports' Jim Wilcox put out his picks for the best Super Bowl TV deals and says it's a good time to buy.
We did a study a year ago and saw that in the 2 weeks leading up to the Super Bowl, TVs were 22% cheaper.
TVs today are almost all very thin and smart, with streaming apps built in. What separates the new models is how they look and sound. For people willing to spend around $2,300, this LG OLED TV is one of the highest rated.
So it's got great picture quality, it has excellent sound quality, it has an unlimited viewing angle. So if you were to move off to the side of this TV, you would see the same picture as a person sitting in front of it.
This Vizio Quantum Series model is a little more affordable at around $1,500.
So a good mid-price TV for people.
Yeah, so they're trying to deliver that higher performance at a more, mid-level price point.
For those looking to spend less than $1,000, Consumer Reports recommends this 65-inch Samsung.
For a lot of people, this is a great set at a great price.
Most new TVs offer a higher resolution 4K picture, even though there is very little 4K content available. And TV makers are stepping up picture quality even more with 8K models.
8K just doesn't make sense. They're extremely pricey. We're just catching up with 4K content, so there's no 8K content.
Wilcox says if you're willing to wait, prices on today's best TVs will continue to drop. Hillary Lane, CBS News, Yonkers, New York.
Our team coverage of this record-breaking cold continues next on WSBT 22. We're going to see how power officials are working to make sure the lights and the heat stay on in your home.
Yeah, very important. Plus, we're not the only ones seeing this Arctic air. How this big blast of winter is impacting much of the Midwest. That's next at 5:30.